Hello, everybody. This is our weekly Aquatics Talk conversation. We do this every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. The goal of this conversation is to share ideas about the aquatic industry and to help access to other professionals across the industry. You can learn more and see what we do in our past conversations at aquaticstalk.com. You can join the panel for registering on our Zoom. We're always welcome to have more people on. Or another great way to contribute is to submit questions to our Q&A that's on that website also, and then accessible through that QR code that's down. I'll get it right sometime on that side of the screen. With that said, I am going to jump into the questions. And the first question this week was mine and got high upvoted by a couple people. Please share a memorable way that someone on your team has resigned or that you have resigned. Anyone want to jump on that one? Obviously, without
I didn't
declaring
have
names.
somebody that necessarily resigned, but they quit in a way. They were moving to Hawaii. He came into my office and he was in tears. He was too afraid to tell me. He was only 18. He was very upset about telling me and was scared that I was going to be mad and upset. And all we had was encouragement. Threw him a little party going away party. Took him out for dinner with the team. Sent him on his way, and he was shocked and surprised and loved it, and it was a good going away for him.
Great. The driver of this week was I posted on Sunday night. I got a relaxing Sunday night before I came into work or getting ready to go to work the next day, and get a text. Hey, I'm not coming to work and don't, or I'm quitting and don't plan on me coming to work again. Like I just texted him back. I was like, you know, it's what you're going to do, whatever you're going to do. It's customary to leave to give 2 weeks notice to leave in good standing. But if that's your decision, I'll process the paperwork effective today. And he's like, yep, that's my decision. After I thought about it a little bit, I got a little less peeved about him quitting over text, because I realized like that's kind of getting to be more of a, like, I realize how much work communication I do over text. And so it's like, you know what? I think I'm going to get over that. And somebody made a great comment in the group about the people break up by text message and stuff all the time. And so it's like, you know what? I'm not going to get too bent out of shape about this one.
I think it's actually
Anyone?
getting a lot more common to quit via text. I have to agree with you, Joe, because I think this is now going around Facebook, TikTok, and all those, and people are saying, we don't give them a 2 weeks if we're terminating somebody, so why should they give us the 2 weeks for them to leave us? And I think it's just becoming more of the norm.
Yeah.
One of the one of the things that I did was that realizing that for a lot of these people, it's their first job. And so in the orientation process, including how you quit is part of that education process. This is what you're gonna, if something doesn't work out for you, if this is not the right coat that you want to wear, then we need to have a conversation, and this is how this normally goes. And what you want to do is leave in good standing, because I just had it happen to me. I was walking in the park and got a call, an important call for a past employee who was part-time at the time for me, who now wants to work for a big utility company in Eugene, Springfield. And I had to pull out information out of my head out of 8 years ago on him. And it was he'd obviously signed a permission slip for me to do that, but it comes back around, and I don't think people realize that. And I think the other thing they don't realize is who in the community. So if they burn you, and I just tell them straight out, if you burn me on this, then I potentially know somebody that you're trying to get a job with later down the road here. And I, not to threaten them, but just to say, this is how it works. It's a community, and this is how the proper way to do this is, or at least the way to do it to leave in good standing, and for to have good, walk out the door with your head high. And it's always okay to say it doesn't fit. you know,
Great.
it's just getting them to say it. My thoughts.
Yeah. Anybody else? All
Um,
right. Oh,
I
go ahead.
I was wondering, not so much like we've all had probably unprofessional ways people have resigned, but has anyone ever like good stories of like talked people off the edge or people saying they're quitting just because like they want attention, or has anyone like I always try to reverse engineer things from like, okay, a lot of times I'm putting out fires. What would be the best case scenario? Like, you're quitting because you're moving to Hawaii, or you're quitting because you won the lottery. It's like, and then does anyone use like exit interviews where you maybe like drill down and find like better ways to handle HR stuff like that?
So I actually do that as a regular practice. Anytime that I am got somebody that is planning on giving their notice, or they let me know they're giving their notice, I always try to have that one-on-one conversation with them. And I bring them in and I let them know that I'm not upset at all. I'm not angry, anything like that. And I try to put myself in the hot seat so that they feel more comfortable with expressing and saying what caused the leave of absence. So I'll say, hey, just wanted to do a quick exit interview. Is there something I did? Is there something I did wrong that might have that caused this leave notice? And what can I do different? Is there something forward that I can do better for future staff if you're not planning on being here? So I put myself in the hot seat, and that usually opens up a lot of things. Occasionally I will actually get some feedback, but most of the time what it does is it gives them the opportunity to this generation has a this generation that I'm currently working with, so our high school, college age, it's not a great communication generation. And oftentimes they are like, well, I can't do 20 hours a week, and you keep scheduling 20 hours a week, but they didn't tell me they can't do 20 hours a week.
Right.
I can't do evenings. I'd rather do mornings, and you keep scheduling me evenings. And it's just annoyances for them that I keep doing something that they didn't want. And it's like, oh, well, that's something I can easily fix. I'm willing to work with you on that. Is that something that we can work through and possibly try for the next couple of weeks? See, like during your 2 weeks, would you like to see if this is a better schedule? So it gives them it allows them to feel more open and willing to share if I come in not a confrontational manner and actually put myself in the hot seat saying, okay, what did I do? Is there something different that I could have done? So I've seen that save. I've probably retained a dozen staff over the years just because of that conversation, and been able to have that communication with them and realize, okay, I need to, in the future, communicate with this person from my end. If they're not going to communicate with me, I need to remember this person needs that communication, and I need to check in with them on a regular basis. So it's more work, but in the long run, it does save the staff. And then also, some of those staff end up being really great employees because they see that I'm making that effort.
Yeah, I'll reiterate that. I kind of turned it sideways, with other ones. I try not to talk them out of quitting. I ask, as some counselors I've talked to curious questions and try to get to kind of like what they're working on and where they're trying to go with things. And then I actually just at this last in service just took a point, and I'll do it with our second group on Sunday of, you know what? We need you guys more than you need us. There's nothing stopping you from quitting, but we really do ask, that if you're feeling like you're at that edge, just let's talk, and let's talk about how we can adjust things to keep you guys around and keep this to be a good place to work, because it's too important to, for us and for the community and what we do to at least make the effort with you and try to meet you where you're at. Because you know, I told him, I said, you guys could go make probably $1.50 or $2 an hour more, you know, making cold pizzas down the street at Papa Murphy's and not even have to worry about, you know, saving somebody's life. So, I hope that candor works and doesn't backfire, but I think the people that it's going to work for are probably already on staff. All right, anything else on that one?
One of the things we just did, so I just started with the place that I'm currently at this past January. And one of the things that we did at the end of the summer that I don't know if a lot of you guys may have seen, I posted it in our Facebook group, but we did an anonymous review of all of our managers, including myself and my assistant. And it was just feedback about communication. How do you feel about this? How the summer went, rules that we implemented that maybe didn't work. You know, how are you feeling? And that's their mass exit of my staff, of all my college students leaving. But I took that opportunity for my head lifeguards, all 7 of them, to get feedback from their peers anonymously, and it worked out really well. And they got the opportunity to see, okay, where did I struggle and where can I move forward to continue to be a better manager?
Great. Anyone else want to chime in on that one? All right. With that, I'm going to move on to the next question here. The next question coming in, actually just down the street from me, Laura Lee asked for fun, creative, and useful lifeguard in-service ideas. Who wants to jump on that one first? All right, given that, I'm going to jump onto it. A couple things that I do is I actually did one the other day that I really enjoyed with our head lifeguard team. I think I talked about this before, was I split them up into groups and had them do a 100-piece puzzle as a team and to see who get done first. To work on communication, teamwork, delegation of work. I kind of put them in by shifts, and that worked pretty well. I'm a big fan for lifeguards of relays and making people like, you know, all right, one person's gonna swim down. The relay is swim down, climb out, do a minute of CPR, climb back in, swim down, tag the other person, and trade off. Kind of getting the adrenaline going, getting that physical fitness, and trying to simulate the kind of fatigue they're going to have when they're having to perform an actual rescue. I talked, I think, last week about my joy of fake blood and my making things kind of throwing curveballs at them. I think one time I didn't talk about last week was while they're, doing the simulation in the pool where they're watching for somebody to go down. I'll take a bite out of a donut and pretend to start choking on the deck and on the bleachers just to make them really be thoughtful about everything that's going on around them. Others?
Joe, I have one that we do. We do the blindfolded rescue. So I put them in teams of 3. One is blindfolded, one is a victim, and then one person is on the deck that has to lead the blindfolded rescuer through the rescue. Everything from entering the water to getting the victim, bringing them back, getting them to the side, and then they have to climb out and do CPR on a mannequin blindfolded. And the other person needs to lead them through that. So works on their communication, works on their teamwork. It also makes the rescuer, the one that's talking them through it, think about the skills, the positioning of their hands and how they do the rescues, and if they're doing correct breaths and correct compressions. So that's a fun one that they enjoy.
Great.
I also stocked up on blood this Halloween. So.
Yeah. It's great. Anyone else want to chime in on that one?
I've always done something called I just call it the Amazing Race or whatever. So it's a similar relay aspect. I'll incorporate skills aspects to it, CPR, rescues, or stuff like that. But then I'll throw in fun stuff. So I might have them in our indoor facility. I might have them run to the gym, and I'll have basketballs laid around. They have to make a free throw. And it's just something different to get them out of the pool space and get them run into different areas. So it's just fun. They enjoy that. I've done other things where they've had to also run over and get information about. So we also encourage general facility knowledge. And so like when is the wellness hours? When is the, so I mean, in our indoor facility, we have a wellness area. So they run over to wellness and they have to check in with the whoever. I always give the attendant over there a heads up. I'm gonna have a bunch of guards sprinting over here. But you're gonna tell them this, and this is what they need to ask before you give them the answer. So it's just fun stuff like that. It gets them around the facility, and they seem to enjoy that. Usually they're all breathing hard at the end, but laughing.
Yeah, I think I've done one facility oriented where it's a scavenger hunt. So we make up cards and it's where the AEDs are throughout the facility, and again, where the fitness room is, where they fill up the ice bags, but it's a scavenger hunt. So there's clues. So they find the clue, they have to read that and figure out where the next piece will lead them throughout the facility. So same thing that Kyle does, getting them to know the facility. We also do the blind minefield. So this is out of the water. Just throw a bunch of stuff on the ground and they break them up into teams, and you have to lead the blindfolded person through the minefield without them hitting a mine. One thing we've done, if it's really nice, is I give the head guards, they get water guns. So if somebody hits a mine, they get to spray the person that hit the mine. So helps cool them off. That's fun for them. One of the ideas that we use. Yeah.
Great. I hear Kyle talking about shooting free throws, and I think about myself and some of the staff, and they're going to be there all night. There's a reason I went out for swim team.
I'm not there to witness anything, so usually it ends up turning into a layup if they don't make it the first team.
That sounds about right. All right. I'm going to jump into the next question here. Miklos, and I think he works for Councilman Hunsaker, shared a survey about things that keep you up at night. Did anybody get a chance to look at that? What are their thoughts about it? I know I'll share that it's interesting, and I think it was kind of some good perspective. I wish I could have snagged it. I don't think I can quickly snag it with my setup right now. Thoughts from others? What are the things that keep you up at night about aquatics?
Wondering if my morning guard is going to show up.
Yeah.
That keeps me up, because if they don't show up, then I have to show up.
Right.
That's a huge one that keeps me up at night.
Yeah, right now the one that's keeping me up at night is the water polo system going to work? Because we have a water polo tournament going on right now, and it's a holiday, so they're telling me you cannot work due to our collective bargaining agreement contract. But I'm like, well, it's I mean, it worked last night when I left at 10 p.m. Everything was working, and we all know how that goes. So.
I'm Brenda Romero, Paso Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I can hear you, Brenda.
I was struggling with my camera setup, but I got it going. I just want to say something that is keeping me up or kind of worry. We got a new natatorium, so this is the second year, and this weekend we have a Turkey Splash swim meet. We're only the host, so we have a border swimming, which they run the major swim meets, renting the facility, but it worries me the connectivity, Colorado timing system, the scoreboard, and like all that worries me, because it is the first time we're gonna run the two pools. It's an natatorium, so we split it with the boat head, so it's running the two at the same time. So it's worrying because we had a lot of issues with the construction, and it seems we got Colorado timing system. Well, it's working, but it's just like, what about if it fails? What about if something is wrong? And it's this weekend, Saturday and Sunday.
That's Yeah.
And any questions that I'm trying to get a position now with Colorado Timing System, the console, and everything, the touchpads. Does anybody have a position that is only dedicated to that? So if we have to troubleshoot, I do have one of my experienced aquatic supervisors. He's really good and really good in computers. But my other supervisor, she's fairly new, promoted from pool manager, and swimming is not her strongest point, but she's really good at managing people. But then is there a position that anybody has just to support and service all this equipment? Does anybody know a position like that? I was looking at a computer, something with this our own city, but I still don't know. Well,
At our facility, it's me as the pool operator. It falls into that responsibility that I have to keep track of it all and be able to support it. And then we partner with our local teams and clubs that rent the facility to make sure they have plenty of training opportunities on how to do basic troubleshooting and issues during the meet. And then if there's a more complex issue, they call us.
okay, so you have a meet operator.
I'm the overall swimming pool operator for all of the equipment and facility.
Okay. So it's just the site supervisor. In this case, I have an aquatics program supervisor learning everything as they go.
Right.
Have you had any struggles with turnover and not having someone that doesn't know?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's why I worry.
Yes. The fortunate thing is a lot of the facilities have there's really only a couple names in town for these pieces of equipment, and they're pretty straightforward. That if you make good written diagrams and picture guides, that it's just kind of plug and play for most of it. And then some of the technical issues on the timing side of it, once the meet is going, tends to be handled by the admin refs, as long as everything is mechanically working.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that? Anybody wants to chime in on fears or timing or anything like that?
I'll say for the timing system, I would recommend also just 100% reaching out to your business or to the online people, because they're going to be able to send a rep out there for you. They're also going to be able to walk you through a lot of things. And a lot of times they'll come in person and do the trainings for you because you're using their equipment. So I would 100% reach out to whichever company you're utilizing, having them come out, making sure you feel comfortable. And if it's done every 6 months, that's what I did when I was at the YMCA. I had them come out every 6 months, check it out. Of course, there's a fee to it, but it also eased my fear of people not knowing. So I would say reach out to a rep. That will help you out with that. And they are willing to come out.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And Brenda, you said it was Colorado Timing Systems?
Yes, and I know my experienced supervisor, he is constantly on the phone reaching out and he's doing that, but it probably will be good to bring someone because I have a lot of new staff. So it's good to have those in-service or training.
Yeah. Sounds great. All right, I'm going to move on to the next question here. The next question comes from Rachel, and this was a carryover from last week. It was the last question we didn't get to last week. Asked about what special events do your organizations do in the aquatics area? I'll just start with a couple quick hits. We do a dog day swim. We do a polar bear swim. We renamed it from polar bear swim. We do a spring April pools day. We do water safety, kind of general promotion of swimming and water safety and some other safety aspects. We do a schools out surfs up party. We sometimes will do an end of summer party. And then we also host all the events and everything that we do. Others?
For El Paso, something different that we did for the Halloweens, the city cannot buy candy. So me being, I used to be in the recreation division, so I added the free swim for candy. So it was a really good turnout. The natatorium, they were able to get, I think like 80 pounds of candy. So a family of 5 will bring a pound of candy, and it was just recreational swim, but it's like bring candy, you can swim for free. And that family really enjoyed that. We added just in one day the Wivet, and it was really fun. It was simple fun, and we got candy and chocolate. Reese's peanut butter cups are my favorite.
That's not a bad idea. That might be something to even do for like a Thanksgiving event and take those donated food items to your local food bank or something.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah.
We had yearly is a big run for Thanksgiving. And it's actually held on Thanksgiving Day. And then we held a play swim for the families that ran. And it always turned out good. I always had about 300 or 400 people enjoy that, and brought people in that didn't necessarily come all the time. So even though it was Thanksgiving, we pulled it off and it worked, and it was fun. It really was fun because people super appreciated it after doing the run.
That's great. Others?
We did a couple at my previous facility. We don't do them here, but we did the underwater egg hunt at Easter with the eggs that sink, that you have to fill up and sink, and floating eggs, and they get a treat bag at the end. We did the Halloween ones where they would do the pumpkin push or pumpkin relays in the water, and different activities in the water that made it fun, Halloween themed. We also did the float-in movies. I know a lot of people aren't fans of those, but it actually worked out pretty well at my previous facility. So those are just a few that we've done.
I will say we did a flick and float for the first time in a while at our facility this year, and we did it. It was for our outdoor facility, and we almost doubled, if not tripled, our lifeguard staff for that evening. So we had one lifeguard like spread every 5 or 6 feet apart, so we had extra people watching the pool. Being that it was dark outside, and everybody had to wear glow necklaces so we could see them bobbing around in the pool a little easier. But it went really well without a hitch, even though it was freezing out that day. Did not stop people from coming out and watching.
Great. Others?
We with a play swim at around Christmas time. We had a surfing Santa. So had them set up in the community room, and kids got to come see Santa, but the whole theme was based around water, and he was in Hawaiian clothes, and it was a lot of fun, and it was fun for the kids, and it was someplace they enjoy coming. So other than the mall.
Right. All right. Seeing no other people jumping in really quick, I'm going to pose this one. Chloe asked about digital pace clock preferences. What do you prefer for use and for longevity? I'll just chime in really quick. We, in our indoor pool, we just run it through our main scoreboard. It's the Daktronics scoreboard, the Baker segment scoreboard, and just have a running hour, minute, seconds up. And then for our outdoor pool, we recently added a new one, which I shared in the comments, Creative Clock, which is actually based out of Eugene, just down the road from us. And we've had those up for a bit, and they've been pretty good and pretty low cost. They don't sync with each other. You have to manually sync them like you used to have to with old analog pace clocks, but it worked pretty well. Others? All right, not a lot of thought on that one today. So I'm going to jump to the next question. This one's for me. I was just curious, what's your favorite aquatic sticker? And I left my coffee cup at work that had this sticker on it. I got one at the last AOAP conference that was a Pacific Northwest lifeguard that I really liked. Others have any other aquatic stickers that they really like?
You're talking for staff or for you or both?
Open house. Dealer's choice.
My favorite was one that I got from Pete DeQuincy.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, this one, the
Oh.
GTFO. That's on my water bottle. That's my
Nice.
favorite that
Nice.
I carry around. But some other ones that I got from him that I give out to staff that he made some really good ones. Lifeguard, #1 lifeguard. So different ones that the staff like that we've given out that you can buy from Pete. But my favorite still the GTFO.
GTFO.
Different ones.
Nice.
I love Pete. He's
Yeah.
awesome.
Right. Yeah, I think that was where my Pacific Northwest lifeguard one came from. And Spotlight. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and switch gears here. This one is actually a different one here. Steve asked about paying staff during recertification. Do you pay them for research? And he was really clear, like, this isn't my policy. I heard about this. And also, do you pay them for any like online training related to their job? Thoughts from the group?
We absolutely pay for they get paid for the recertification. We pay for the certification, any online training. I just put my head lifeguards for the first time through the Red Cross's lifeguard management course, all online. They got paid for that at the end of it. So we just took, even if they took 100 hours to complete it, whatever the Red Cross stated that amount of time should have taken, that's what we pay out. So yeah, we cover it all. I have been at places where they pay a different pay rate for it, so they might get $14 an hour to guard, but during their training they make a minimum wage. But thankfully, that's not something we do at my current place.
We pay for everything as well. That's fairly new because we had a lot of problems with interest and the way they have to be certified to start working. And so we'd explain the process. I typically do blended learning. So they got to go home, do the online stuff, book work, and then get with me. We were losing, they would go home, start working on it and go, oh, this is so much and I'm not making money and stuff like that. And then I would not either hear from them or they'd say, never mind, I found something different. When we switched to the paying for the certification, that changed. My retention has gone up because they're technically making money as they're doing their certification. So I've retained more of those initial trainings or new guards because of paying that. So I would highly suggest it if you budget can afford it. It is a budgetary concern because it's quite a few hours to pay for, but yeah, I do it.
I do two different things. Since I'm the LGI and WSIT on staff, we offer them free training. They can take it here, and they don't have to pay for the training. Keep their lifeguard certification up. We definitely pay them for that. If they go somewhere else, they don't take one of our trainings, we don't pay them for that time. So they have to take their trainings here. We'll pay them for that. If they don't make it to one of our trainings, because it's also part of our in-services time, then they have to pay for it themselves and they don't get paid for that time. So we do get a lot more that will show up to get recertified here because they don't have to pay for it. So that's how we've managed to do it.
Nice.
My last company, we reimbursed the cost of initial training for a new hire after X amount of hours that they worked for us. If they took the training with us, so let's say our training was $150, we'd reimburse $150. But if they went somewhere else, we would still reimburse, but only up to the $150. So if they paid $200 to get a lifeguard cert, we'd cover the first $150 of it as a reimbursement once they hit so many hours.
Oh, I'll be honest. Let's see here. Why am I'm not jumping. Just 1 second here. Let's go on Spotlight. Spotlight. Okay. We're kind of not good. We don't pay our staff for their research. We pay for the research, but we do not pay for the research time. And then, but pay for in-services, and we pay for all the other required trainings. So if they have to do HR trainings and stuff, even if that's online, they do that, and we pay for that. But we're working on trying to change that model, and it's just taking some time. Other thoughts? All right. Seeing none there, I'm going to jump back over to our next question. And that is, Melissa asks, do you have a sexual harassment training for your seasonal employees? And if so, do you use a specific program? And I'll just chime in to start. We do an annual training. Our HR comes in and just reviews sexual harassment policies and procedures. And then we also have a video. I wish they would get a new video. It's called The Right Side of the Line. And it's after watching it, about 8 times in the last 5 years, I'm kind of like, they need a new video. Others?
Our insurance group, Redwoods, has a ton of those types of trainings, and it's pretty easy that we can set them up and they can do it online. For our seasonal staff at my last facility, it was a part of our startup orientation. So we got the staff together. We went through it was about an hour long, and they completed there was a test requirement at the end, and then they were done. So that's how we did it as a part of every startup. We just did that regardless of if they'd taken it. If they were in year-round staff at the indoor facility, they still just retook it at the beginning of every summer.
Others?
For the city of El Paso is HR department. So they have, once they come on board, they have to go the training first, but the HR department will handle that.
Nice.
And it's still, I love when you say the video, they still have the old video. So yes, I understand that they need a new video.
I think they spend a lot of money on those videos and for the licensing to be able to reuse them. And so, 2 things I'm going to add really quick. I still want to talk about this. I've worked out the kinks of why I haven't been able to spotlight a couple of you guys. Again, this is a pushing. I want to break things and make this look better and better and better and try to make it more production. And I think I got it figured out. Also, we're about 20 minutes out, and I've only got 2 questions left in the doc. So if you have questions you want to discuss with the group, start thinking about those ones also. So anybody else want to chime in about the sexual harassment training? All right. Seeing none. I thought this was an interesting one. Kara shared a complaint about requiring swimming caps. I think it was a doctor that wrote in and had complaints about long hair. And, I think there was some saltiness about that one. And I just would be kind of curious to know what the group thinks of that one, and chime in and comment about that.
I think it's one thing to ask for people to do that versus trying to force people to do it. It's kind of like the showering policies. When you say all swimmers must shower prior to entering the pool, the reality is how many people actually do it. It might be a rule or something you have on the board. It's kind of like an unenforceable rule. You could talk to people about the safety about it, but forcing them at the end of the day or making a policy that's enforced could be difficult.
Well,
I mean,
are they asking just women to wear the swim cap, or are they asking everybody with long hair to wear the swim cap?
I think the original post on Facebook just said it didn't specify a gender. It just said persons with long hair.
I think it was generally to all persons with long hair.
I think though that that's from long ago. I mean, it's when the filters couldn't handle the hair. And I remember being forced to do that, my first swim lessons and things like that, and wearing the caps. Loved them. Little strap underneath, great. But it just kind of, it tickled me because if it's a cleanliness issue, there's a whole bunch of the rest of the body that's in the water you're sharing too. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just think it, unless it's filter related, it doesn't really, it'd be very tough to enforce.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a personal choice too. You know, like you said, like Christine said, you can't force people to wear it. My doctor specifically, I have a condition where if I have pressure on the back of my head, I will have headaches for the rest of the day. So I don't wear a swim cap because it's doctor related. But I also have short hair, so you know, I guess I wouldn't fall in that category. But I don't think it's enforceable. You're just making more trouble for your lifeguards, more hassle. My opinion.
I twitched a little bit when I read that because we just came out of, Oregon had some pretty robust mask mandates. And I had several staff almost get punched in the face for telling people that they had to wear a mask in the lobby. I had somebody ask me about, why don't you enforce the showers? And I just said, the last time we had to enforce something, like I almost got in a fight with somebody. My staff almost got in fights with somebody. So I just want everyone to just take a pause and think about this. And I think education is a stronger tool than the stick. Any other thoughts about that?
So I will say I was that pool at the YMCA that did enforce the cap rule. This was probably about 9 years ago. I'm sorry, 5. And we first gave 2-month notice of that this policy was going to go into place. We were having a lot of clumpiness of hair, and then also we did actually have an instance where hair got caught in the lane line. So one of our things that we had to do was being proactive, showing that we cared and that we were going to do something from that. So we said anyone, didn't matter if you were, which gender you represented, that you had to wear a swim cap. It was good for a year. At the beginning, we had people that just, we had a lot of why questions, of course, but then we just said the science, the health, the safety behind it, and then people did get on board with it. A year after, I started seeing that people started leaving caps and reusing caps, and which is an okay thing, but I guess for since in the pool and stuff like that, but that's what people just started doing, was just they didn't want to buy their own caps. So and to this day, the YMCA is still using the swim cap rule, and a lot of it is just for lifeguards to be able to see, sometimes because they have bright swim caps, but then also just because for that one instance of getting caught in the lane line, that's what they determined, that they still need to keep that swim cap rule. So I don't work there anymore. I don't have to deal with those issues or concerns. But as you guys did say, the lifeguards do definitely get a lot of questions in regards to why, or if we have a lifeguard course, as I'm a lifeguard instructor, we didn't mandate them to wear their swim caps, because we wanted them to actually get the idea of when you jump in the pool, you're going to get hair on your face, and how do you get around that and all that kind of stuff. So it was like, well, you're not making them do it, but why are you making us do it? So we had some of those concerns, but yeah, the Y is still doing it, and they're making money off the swim caps. So that's probably why they're still doing it also.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Anybody else want to comment on this one?
Personally, I don't see the problem.
Yeah,
but that's just my personal preference. I don't know why it's a rule, in my opinion. I mean, I see where they're coming from, but at the same time, it's the one instance. And I mean, I've been doing aquatics for over a decade, and from lifeguard all the way up to director level, I've never seen hair getting caught on a lane line. So how often does that really happen? How much of a concern is it actually? Same thing with what Christine said, as far as cleanliness. Yeah, there's going to be hair balls at the bottom of the pool occasionally, but it's really easy to get those out. And the filters, even if it gets pulled into a filter, the strainer basket will pick that up, and you just clean the strainer basket. So that's just me.
I think the education for the public is more that, this is why we strive to maintain a great chemical balance in the water. This is why we, we keep the water where it's at because we're taking care of all of those different situations that are walking in the door with everybody coming in.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the one that kind of threw me, that was I hadn't heard before until I worked at a YMCA, was no cotton allowed in the pool. And no cotton shorts or no cotton shirts, because they're like, well, the cotton gets stuck in the filters. And they had like fairly recent sand filters, and it was like, I don't know about that. And that, to me, that one also felt very it was a barrier, because then you're putting on, somebody has to be able to source a nylon or not lycra or polyester article of clothing that they may not have already. So you're putting additional barriers into putting low income families into being able to use your pools.
I wonder if that was a carryover from years ago when people used to wear jean shorts and they had fringe.
Right.
Because I remember not allowing those.
Yeah, no, and that makes perfect sense. The not, I think we had specific guide. Every pool I ever worked at, I remember, like, things need to be cleanly hemmed. It didn't care about the material, it just said it had to be cleanly hemmed. Any other thoughts on abnormalities or showering or all right.
I have a question
Yeah, go
on
ahead, Brenda.
sandals. How is everybody handling the proper sandals in the shower? So we have the new natatorium, the flooring that was not involved in the project, in the construction project. So we received the building and the flooring in the showers. I think they were thinking more of a home shower. So they're very slippery. So we encourage make sure you have the right sandals, but it's something that we cannot really force. So we have had a couple slips and falls in the showers. But what are you doing for enforcing the right sandals or signage? Or just want to hear your thoughts on that one.
Brenda, have they thought about reglazing the tiles with some sort of textured grid or sand in a glaze to help reduce that?
Is there like a glaze?
You can reglaze tiles. It's just a clear glaze that will essentially get like painted onto the tiles, and they can put some sort of, I'm just gonna use sand as an example, but it'll basically create a texture on top of the tile so that it creates like a slip resistant flooring.
But what about on the cement?
Yeah, we do that same thing for cement. So we actually had this issue at my last outdoor facility, not in the shower areas, but actually in the zero depth area. It was very, very slick. Lots of people slipping and falling in the zero depth going into the pool. So when we had the pool repainted, we put it's actually a silicate. It looks like sand, and you can get varying sizes of silicate. And then you mix that with the paint, or you mix it with a glaze, or you mix it with a concrete paint, or whatever, really anything that you can lay down, and it'll add a texture to help prevent any further slips and falls. That's what we used at our last facility. It holds up pretty well because it's a part of it's bonded and a part of the whatever you use, paint or whatever. And so it's not like something that you can lay down. It'll wear off eventually, even if it's the sticky stuff that you can put on the cement, that stuff eventually wears off. This was very strong. And then as the paint wore away, the silicate didn't wear as easily. So it was still there and still bonded to the floor.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Brenda, I think you need to make it a facility issue, because you can't put it back on your guest. As Joe said, that you're just increasing a barrier if you're trying to get people to buy slippers or shoes or anything, because not everybody can afford those. But if it comes back on your facility, it's a safety issue. So I think if you go to whoever holds the purse strings and present that, but all of the suggestions that Kyle and Thomas had, you go with them, here are some solutions, and you'll be shut down for a little while so that it cures, but it's the safety of everybody.
And definitely document any slips and falls so you have backup to say this is something that can't wait. We have to get this done. You know, it cannot be a budget restraint issue. We have to find the money to make this happen.
So I was in a
Mhm.
facility that was older, and when they redid the shower rooms, they didn't do a great job on the tile on the floor. And so we had mats that were kind of a harder plastic for rubbery plastic stuff.
I think those.
And it breathed, you know, it had holes through it, but we made those pathways to our shower, and the same could happen in your shower as a short term. I mean, what they've discussed is spot on. You want to treat that floor, but you can do a short term right now, waiting for that process too, where you can get these mats that people will stand on, and it'll help them feel more secure and be more secure. And it's just doing the pathways to the shower and in the shower. It's a little more work for maintenance because they're going to have to pick up those mats and clean under them. But
Yeah, I was just gonna say that you have
Yeah,
to
the cleaning.
pull them up and hose underneath and scrub the floor underneath. But you can buy them on Amazon. So great short-term solution.
All right. Thank you.
My other thought would be, you said this was a newer building, is that correct?
It's a new building, and the building is shared with a recreation center. So it is the first time they do that. So maybe they were thinking more of the side of the entrance through the recreation center. So they kept the same flooring. The showers, they do have tiles, so the showers are not slippery, but just as they step out of the showers, that's the slippery area.
Because I mean, my thought would be maybe you might just have your, facilities team just double check what was spec'd out in that newer building, and to make sure the contractor didn't cut any corners on that. That would be something that, as a cost cutting measure, depending on how the contract was bidded, a lot of times little things like that get cut, and they just, especially if it's at the last minute, they're like, we just need to get this building done, we're on deadline. That sometimes some of those little things where it called out like a non-slip transition area from the showers could potentially have been omitted. And it might have to go back onto the builder to say, hey, this is still under warranty, this is still, we need a remediation on this.
The sad thing is that this was completed over COVID, and whoever was the original project manager, the original aquatics manager, everybody is gone. So and somebody accepted the project, so now it's on my end to fix it.
Yeah, but I would still see, hopefully, I mean, it's quite possible, but however they'd manage that contract, whether it was a general contractor build or, as part of a larger architectural firm project, that would have been included with it. So,
yeah.
Okay.
All right. I got one more question. We did a good job of filling out the time on that one. And thank you, Brenda. That's always great. I love it when we have, part of why I love this discussion, is because sometimes there's just that little thing that comes up and we have a wealth of knowledge that's able to answer it and try to dive into it. So the last one, and I think there's some people in the group that can talk about this. Kelly asked about replacing new pool features in her deep end. We've talked about similar kinds of questions before, but I think it's still good to talk about. She's seen Aqua Ninjas and Aqua Zip and swing ropes. Thoughts, experiences, usability or usage and durability.
Aqua Ninja.
I think that one of the things that a lot of aquatics industries, I think, neglect, and I think a lot of companies in general, because the specific population that I work with, being sure that whatever you install can be utilized by as many people as possible. Think about the people that come in wheelchairs, your seniors, your kids with disabilities, your anybody that needs extra accessibility to those new features, that it can be utilized by them. One of the companies I used to work for wanted to put a slide in our deep water, so the drop off would be in the deep water. And they thought it was this grand idea, and I shot it down. It was completely going to be paid for, and I said absolutely not. I don't want that. And the reason behind it is because we had a very strict deep water test policy, so that would eliminate about 50 to 60% of my kids being able to even utilize this new slide. So I personally shot it down as the aquatics director at the time.
I think that's great advice because you have that utilization of the area. So we were looking at the same thing for our deep water, potentially doing something, but then we had to also look at the programming all the way through. How's it going to affect water fitness? How's it going to affect swim meets? How's it going to affect all the other uses of that particular space? Just trying to increase a little bit of the revenue coming in for a play swim on that side. So it was one of those rope things, that you climb up. Anyway, that's really good to look at it. All the uses you're going to have for that space and how you're going to do it and what it can inhibit.
We were looking also into the Aquatic Ninja, and I think it does require some electricity, some power, but we have a lot of older buildings, so it was just it has to go into a capital improvement project just so that way we can have everything properly installed and add electricity. So it's not as cheap as it's gonna look, or even the equipment is not economical, but then we have to look at the back end of how we're gonna power some of the things because it retracts, so you can use the pool also like regular, but it was just too expensive. Like we didn't look, it was a brainstorming idea, but then when they say the electrical, it's like, oh, forget it. That is our challenge. We struggle with electrical to add more power in any of our buildings right now.
So Great Wolf is a good example, and I learned from a seminar there because they have lots of features within their aquatic park. And one of the things that they told us is anytime you're going to put a feature in, remember how you're going to supervise it. So when they would have, because the people who are thinking about, oh, this is just such a great idea, how are you going to guard it? How many more staff is it going to take? What's that going to cost over X amount of years? Because that all comes into play with it as well.
Yeah, especially if your facility is already short staffed. You had a slide, depending on where you live. We have a height requirement. Any higher than so many feet, you now have to have a lifeguard at the top of the slide and the bottom of the slide. So that requires 2 additional staff. And if you're already short staffed, is adding a feature a smart idea? Is it something that you're going to put in? It's a great feature to have, and you can only say, I can only open it 2 hours a week due to staffing.
Yeah, we've ran into the staffing issue. We have 2 of the climbing walls, and we haven't had them in since COVID because we haven't had enough staff to run them, to keep everything else, the core functions open. And during the summer, when we opened up our open recreation swims, we focused on outside. We actually closed our indoor pool, which is where our aqua climb goes, during that period, because we just barely had enough staff to keep the outdoors open. We're hoping to get back closer next year and be able to, I'd like to start getting those climbing walls back in after our spring. Right now we're getting into our high school swim season where there's meets every week, and it's too much of a mess to work around those because it's in the deep end of our competition pool. Because during off season, that's kind of water that's underutilized and gives more of a feature to come into the pool during open rec times. Other thoughts on pool features for their deep ends? Does anybody have experience with like the Weebit inflatables or Wibbit inflatables?
Yeah, at my last facility, we had the Wibbit. We had more spinal rescues off that Wibbit than anything else, just because they would jump head first across like the pond and stuff. So that's something you need to be aware of. I mean, they weren't serious spinal injuries, but and then you go back to how are you going to guard it? How are you going to staff it? Because we would have to have 6 to 8 additional staff for the Wibbit, because you need 1 at the start, you need a couple in the water and 1 at the end, and rotate them through depending how long you have the Wibbit in. It was fun, but yeah, I even had a staff member do a head plant and come out with a bloody nose and hurt neck. But I still beat everybody across the Wibbit. Just putting that out there. But
good. As it should be.
Yeah, it is a great attraction. It's easy. I won't say easy to put in and out, because you got to blow them up. You got to dry them off when you put them away. There's a lot of patching you have to do to them over time. But it is one of the least expensive option.
My, I've seen a lot of those. I haven't seen them in person use, but my biggest concern with getting those at any facility that I've worked at is that people going under them
Yep.
and getting stuck. And that's always been a concern, which is why I've never even thought of it as an option.
Yeah, that's why with the Whibbit, it's more of an obstacle. So it's there's a starting. When they fall off, they have to immediately swim out. So that's why you have the guards in the water with them to make sure that they're not swimming under, that they're immediately getting out. They have to line back up. So it's a cross, jump in, slide off at the end and climb out. So there's no open swim around it. But to that point, we had the big red dog at one point that's just climbing on and jumping off, and we would have people underneath, and that one was terrible.
That's all great stuff, everybody. Thank you all. We're at the top of the hour here. Thomas, thanks for coming back for it's been a little while, and Nick, thank you for joining us today, and everyone else, all the other regulars. Next week, I messaged a couple people that are regulars that are going to help host. I'm teaching a class next Friday, so we won't be as quite techie, but we'll have still have a great discussion and get that discussion recorded and reshared to the entire group. I just thank everyone for what you're doing, and I'm going to go ahead and end all of our streams and recordings. And